If you clicked on this video, congratulations! September. I hope it was good for y'all. I turned a year older. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. I'm feeling like Dorothy from the Golden Girls, the best character on the show, by the way. If you didn't know, baby doll, where have you been at? And I just feel like at this point, I just want to slip into some Birkenstocks, which I bought my first pair of the cloggies, right? And I'm just ready to go into the retirement home. I'm ready for whatever comes in that package from like A to Z, whether it's the freaky deaky to like somebody being on the roof with their underwear on their head. I'm ready for it because I can't do this anymore. I also have an intrusive thought. So I went to go see Demon Slayer, the Infinity Arc, pure cinema, by the way, quite literally. And I now am acknowledged about these things called D-box seats, which I've heard around the Millbury Bush, but they're like now coming into full fruition. And I feel like this creation was formed by somebody who quite literally is on like the dark side of Reddit, on the after hours side on the timeline, because you're telling me you want to sit for 2.5, 3 hours in a vibrating seat and you telling me ain't nothing finna happen. And listen, I don't want to yuck your yum, you know what I mean? But I'm here to watch action. I'm here to follow, to listen to storyline. And you being in that shaking, vibrating mess, like through the whole 3 hours, every swish sword, side effect, every person going up in the air, landing down to the ground, every intrusive stabbing of a sword, decapitation of a head. You know what I'm saying? You are feeling that rocking and rolling in your seat. And I'm watching y'all, right? Because when I was watching this film up in the high rise, I was feeling those vibrations, little repercussions all the way up there. So I can only imagine the time of the life y'all really be trying to have in a dark movie theater. Now listen, exhibitionists, do you actually want to be on the list though? Like, are y'all, because you know you go on a list, right? It's more than just not being around a playground. You're like a registered offender. And I know some of y'all are willing to risk that for the content. But, you know, it's kind of nice to sit outside and eat, you know, maybe near children or families. And you can't do that. You can't go to Cheesecake Factory. Welcome back to YouTube channel, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming back. So I saw some films over the past couple weeks that I feel like nobody knows about, that I need to shout from the mountaintop and keep you informed, keep you acknowledged, because that's what I'm here for. Film number one, it's a movie called Twinless. This film was beautifully well done, telling a story about grief and grieving in different aspects and different ways of life. It's about these twin brothers, Roman and Rocky, and my boy Dennis creeping in the back. Roman is the one that died. So Roman died in this mysterious accident, which you will actually figure out later in the film. And his brother Rocky is grieving him. The way that the movie opens is that you see like this funeral and he's standing there with his mom and people are like coming up to hug him and they're like sobbing in distress, not only because of the fact that like Roman died, but the fact that his brother looks exactly like him, which is pretty messed up, that I can't even grieve in peace because you think I'm my brother. I feel like most of the time in Hollywood, in TV and production, the way that people portray grief and grieving through somebody particularly is being either depressed and sad, or you're going off the rails, but like you don't see the transition or the process that gets through the stage of full-blown anger. And with him, he goes through this transparency through the film of the journey of the fact that you see his anger, but you see how his anger is more towards self versus his brother. How it kind of exposes his insecurity as himself as a person, questioning his identity, the fact that the relationship that he had with his brother ended on really bad terms, and that he never actually got a chance to revive a relationship that was once lost in their childhood. He goes to this grieving group that is for twins specifically, actually, and he meets this guy named Dennis. Dennis the Menace, shall I say, because that boy, he is wildin'. Actually, he meets Dennis and him and Dennis become like besties, you know? Dennis is his partner that essentially helps him grieve his brother along with forming his identity and processing through life. Now, my boy Denny Den Den, he pops out of this grieving group out of nowhere. And the plot twist behind Dennis and his intention of being friends with Rocky is like full-blown crazy. But Dennis himself is grieving, but in a different way. with a different situation, and he uses being a twin to his advantage in order to gain sympathy and empathy and attention, is what I'll say. And this relationship dynamic of what you have of two different personalities, them becoming brothers and best friends with this underlying secret, it's a beautiful film. I give it an 8.9 out of 10 just for storytelling and even the pacing and even just the little artistic aspects of the fact of coloring, them dressing the same, saying the same things. Even the duality of Sterling, he also plays Roman, his twin brother, does an amazing job. I think this film is very beautiful, and I hope that it's available on streaming so that people can watch it, because the growth of what you see Rocky going from a person of being a certified crash out, this anger and self-hatred, and him forming into his own person and forgiving himself, along with finding forgiveness even with Dennis and even with his brother, and just learning how to process having a loss of somebody in his life. Beautifully well done. Could not ask for a better film. Second film that I saw is a movie called Lurker. I knew nothing about this film until I saw Zach Fox promoting it. He's in it. This film, I think, in a way, is the most realistic play-by-play of what it means to actually be an influencer, and the power of influence and the power dynamic of what it takes to stay on the top and what you're willing to sacrifice and have to endure in order to preserve image and be an artist. It gives me like a mixture of current Kanye with the touch of Drake and a spin of The Weeknd, if that makes any sense. This film is about a fan that turns into an essential part of an artistic growth of a particular artist that's on the rise, and how he takes it a step, 10 steps, a million steps, a whole mile actually, times 2 with a football field further, in order for him to not only be secure in the relationship with this artist, but also like gain popularity and credibility and agency within himself. He just kind of goes off like the very, very deep end. What I like about this film is how it's realistic in the fact that this artist, who's from the UK, I believe, has a bunch of yes men around him that really support his music, no matter how trash it is, no matter how cringy it is, him being like just an asshole, essentially being a child, a 10-year-old that like just had 3 donuts and a cup of coffee and wants to like draw crayons on the wall. This movie takes place, and I believe it's making fun of, or really telling the real story of what it means to be an artist in LA and the LA scene. This UK singer walks into like an LA clothing brand shop, and there's a guy who's like a big fan of his that ends up playing like a random song from his phone, trying to be different, trying to be a pick-me, a performative male. That's the new buzzword that we're using. He ends up listening to the song, invites him to a party, right? And he ends up being in his group circle, like being a certified A-level groupie. Wonder where he got his homework from. I'm just saying. And when he's in his circle, he wants to be an aspiring photographer, videographer. So he uses this as his step up. And it gets ugly real fast and real quick. It's him stepping to the utmost 10th degree, taking a whole inch and a mile with like a football field, and being so heavily invested in his life on every single aspect to not only make himself better in his career, but to also improve his career as well. My favorite line throughout this movie, I gotta say, which is a complete read and dragging him to filth, which is a real reality I want to say for every artist in the game right now, is that everybody wants the same thing. I just want it more. Meaning that he's willing to go to whatever degree to get what he wants, not only out of him, but for himself. And this boy, he goes like from a normie to Joker in like 1 to 100. Throughout the movie, you see a relationship that is like a platonic relationship that goes into a friendship, really goes into like a really Stockholm syndrome captor and captive relationship. I'm not even playing with you. Like, he does a whole Uno reverse on how to like get him and trap him into like staying with him. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. What are you talking about? And even the ending, which is like sickening, is somebody doing a full circle moment of asking him how he got where he got at, and everybody in the room knows the answer, and he is just sitting there cracking up because he was like, you know, you just got to start from humble beginnings, when really it's exploitation to like a 10th degree. I'm telling you. I think this movie did a great job of just like really building up to the psyche behind being a yes man, right? The cost of what it is to have people around you agreeing to be your friend, being in your face at all times 24/7 just because you're rich, you make music, whatever. And the leeching of having the power dynamic of being up here and somebody feeding off of it to match you and then superseding you, keeping you underneath in order for it to be like all kept together. I like how throughout most of the film, it's shot on like a camcorder, because he's documenting his life. He's like trying to make a movie about a documentary. But even seeing the psyche breakdown that you see throughout this documentation of his life and the behind the scenes, and him being on stage and him being at home and him trying to get intimate moments, and people being around him and not really caring about his well-being, but him being a shell of a ghost, and how he's like really encouraging and pushing that. It just has a lot of good aspects of a shifting power dynamic of being an influencer and influencee. But I give that movie probably like an 8 out of 10. I definitely would say that it's a really good indie film. Both of these films, I believe they won awards and gained a lot of recognition in the Sundance Festival. But yeah, both are bangers. The only other film that I'm interested in seeing, and I hope I get a chance to see, is The Smashing Machine with The Rock. And I gotta say, right, The Rock has been bald for forever and a day. And the fact that he agreed to a wig install means that he is really serious in the acting game. This means my man's wants an Oscar nomination for this film, okay? And I gotta say, the prosthetics and the makeup really makes him not look like who he is. And I think this is really a turning point in his career where he actually wants to be taken seriously in the craft and not just be like an action figure hero, you know? That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Please comment, like, and subscribe. It's October, it's spooky season. And I gotta say, I don't know which one is spookier. Seeing your husband, your boyfriend, fiance, whoever, on the internet going and enduring through a male boot camp, willing to hold hands and be underwater while looking like he has doo-doo stains everywhere for the sake of being a man. Or there was a guy that you knew in high school that was like the worst of the worst, low of the low, had dirt underneath his fingernails, never actually really brushed his teeth, made sure that he had the fresh breads on, but could not read for the sake of nothing, could not even give a critical thought or a sentence of a book. And now he's a performative male that wears metal rings, has his ears pierced and a nose piercing, and listens to Lana Del Rey. I don't know which one is a scarier factor, but you let me know, because it's getting real scary out in this timeline, right? Y'all are paying $6,000 plus tax, maybe even more, for a course to be manly in the outside of like a Lowe's parking lot to build strength. And then you got like men actually trying to give critique in music reviews and saying that they're reading bell hooks and knowing about art, when you were just playing 2K last year and couldn't even read like halfway through a Dr. Seuss book. I'm just saying. I don't know. But I'll catch you guys in the next one.